physically shoving it. And pretty soon the table would start to slide around on the floor, and it sometimes would actually tilt and rise up to the air. Now, there's a story of a group of 8 magicians who got together one night to check this whole thing out, see if they could do it legitimately, without using strings or wires or anything like that. They gathered in an apartment in Manhattan, surrounded a large, solid oak table. The table weighed over 150 pounds. Put their hands on top of it, and they concentrated on it. They thought about the table for an hour and a half, and nothing happened. The table just sat there. Then they took a break, and they decided they would come back, they would try again, but this time they were going to forget their skepticism, believe that it was possible, and only try for 5 minutes. And the same 8 men, same 150-pound table, hands again just slightly on top, but for only 5 minutes this time. This time they were believing that it could work, power of positive thinking. At the end of that 5-minute period, the table shook a little bit, and it flipped over, and it cracked directly through the center. Kill a white man. No, I'm just kidding. But it is actually, this is a true story. It is a true story up to the death scene. Then I just elaborated a bit to make sure you were still with me. And you were, some of you were, and I appreciate that. But when I first heard the story, I started working on what I'm going to try to show you now. I've been doing this thing for a long amount of time. And during that amount of time, I've gotten a lot of feedback as to how it can be done. So before we get into any movement, and hopefully we will have a lift for you tonight, I want to disprove different things that I've heard of in the past with the help of this one. The second row, looking right at you. You have a great t-shirt on, and now you're starting to squirm. Yes, you. Would you mind? Would you come up for a second? Round of applause for this lady. You're not here. All I want you to do is come up and come around and stand behind this table, and then I'll explain what I would like you to do. You want to do something, don't you? Too bad. No. The very next thing you will do, I promise. Don't forget that. When I ask for 4 people, you jump up and make sure I see you. Because I might forget. My short-term memory's bad. All right. What's your first name? Olivia, I want you to come around and stand behind this small table, and I'll explain what I would like you to do. Olivia, you're going to check the table out before we get started. First thing I want you to do is place your hands flat on top of the table and run your hands around. Make sure the table surface is flat, not round like a basketball that you're the palm in your hands. You also notice, Olivia, that it's flat. It's not, and it is solid. It's not a spongy material that you can dig your fingernails into. There are no bowling ball holes. You dip your fingers down inside. Impressions for you to slide and place your palms. Nothing. Now, you're right next to the table. The table is in bright light. We have every light on we can on stage. There are no strings or wires attached to it. True? A couple other explanations, things you might not think of at first. One is that it can be done through magnetism. So I brought along a pair of scissors made out of metal, a magnet made out of magnet. Olivia, would you pull the magnet from the scissors? Would you set it to the table and just run it around? Make sure there's not enough metal to even attract that magnet, let alone lift or move the table. And you can just leave it rest wherever you like. Put the scissors on top and run the scissors around. Now you check for the reverse. You'll make sure there's no magnetic pull coming from the table. So just run the scissors about. No hidden magnets that will be attached to or attracted to the metal of the scissors. Nothing. One final explanation. This is the only one I used to disprove when I first got started doing this. That's there was some type of a tape or a glue, an adhesive, either on the palms of my hands or on the top of the table. You felt the top of the table and there's nothing sticky there. I want you to feel the palms of my hands. Make sure that there's nothing sticky there. Okay. Can't do that again. Just make sure. Once again, we'll take this one step farther. I have this little pocket square. Would you pull that out of my pocket? Just take that. Place it over the top of the table. Now, during the entire demonstration, our hands will only touch the table through the scarf. That way, in case I did sneak super glue onto the palms of my hands real quick when you weren't looking, and I pressed my hands onto the scarf and I lifted my hands. If I did that, all that I would accomplish is that I would have a scarf stuck permanently to the palms of my hands. The table will stay wherever it is. Because, Olivia, you know that that scarf's not attached to the table, and you can pull it from the table if you wanted to. Do you want to?
Do you want me to?
Thanks. Put her back. You made that guy very happy. Now, Olivia, I will give you some very simple directions. The most important thing you have to remember, over the next few seconds, should that table go anywhere, you go with it. Okay, just kind of move with the table. If it goes too high, forget about it. Once up here walking around, you just follow it. At one point, I would say, Olivia, take your hands off. When I do that, just lift your hands off, come back and stand by this table. And then if this table starts to move, run. Now give Olivia and I a second and then watch what happens, I hope. Olivia, we're going to start center stage with the table between us. So, I'll be here, you'll be across. So we'll face each other across the table. And we may not look at each other, but we will always stand directly across from each other. So the point is the table moves. Like if I'm here, that means the table is moved to here, and then you would be here with your back towards the audience. We are a few feet in the air, Olivia, so be careful. I don't know where we'll end up. If we get too close to the edge of the stage and you feel uncomfortable, just walk away. Do not sacrifice yourself for the table. Follow my lead. Watch my hand. My right hand leads here. Put your left hand there. Go. All you do is take my place. Your left hand goes right there. Now, same thing on this side. My left hand leads, your right hand's going to take the place. Go. Olivia, just lift up on your palms. Adjust your fingertips touch. As your fingertips are touching the table. Feel the table, but don't press down. Just make a light, consistent touch. No pressure. Don't try to move it, and don't try to keep it from moving.